Great. I've just unmuted everyone. So this is James Matthews at ACIS. Welcome everybody. Could someone just tell me they can hear okay?
Yes.
Excellent. Good. In that case, I'm going to mute everyone again, apart from Brigham and I, and then we'll get started, and Brigham will do the intros. So just 1 second. Okay, Brigham, I think it's all.
Yes, sir. Okay, well then I'll lead off. Everybody, thank you. Hard work is about to come to fruition. So thanks for being on this. James and I were talking a little bit earlier, and you know, I'm always the guy that has the view from 1,000 feet, and I tell you that we're going to have a great time, and it's going to be awesome, and this, that, and the other, and we are going to have a great time, and we're going to show the kids the time and make a huge impact on them. So I'm the guy that, you know, sells it from 1,000 feet. James is the guy that's going to tell you the step-by-step of kind of how we make that all happen, and he's going to go over the operational parts of it. So that's kind of what James does. I don't know, I think his title is Director of Overseas Operations. He's the head guy that runs all of our tours, whatever title that is. So
that'll do.
That's what James does. In a nutshell, he and his teams keep my promises. So they're the ones, they're the backbone of America's team and what we do. So I'm gonna hand it over to him, but I'll be here in case you need me to chime in or anything, James. But yeah, the floor is yours.
Okay. Well, thank you. Actually, I should have gone to the next slide, really, shouldn't I? Because that one's yours. But
okay, sure.
So
I can continue on. Role of the coach, number one, have fun. I know for all you returning coaches, you know how much fun this is. Rookie coaches, you guys are going to have a great time, and you set the tone with your kids, meaning the flexibility. And I like to equate this to getting married. Everybody knows that during a wedding, something goes wrong. It doesn't matter what it is, but something doesn't go just as planned. And something's going to happen like that on tour. And just because most likely you and the tour manager will be the only ones to know about it, because the kids will be completely in the dark and the tour manager will actually make it better. So just be flexible and lean on the tour manager as he or she is rolling with the itinerary, because any changes that we make, they're going to be changes for the better. So that's the first one. Then discipline. You guys have great kids. You know, I go over this just kind of, it's something that we need to do, but we've never had any behavioral issues on our tours, and that's a credit to you guys as coaches, because you guys pick great kids. Have them with you if you didn't trust them. But in the unforeseen event that something does happen, you guys are the ones that will be doling out the discipline. And you can play good cop, bad cop if you want to. You can say, hey, I'd let you do this, that, or the other, but you know what? It's Briggs' company. It's Briggs' program. He says no. So paint me as the bad cop. Throw me under the bus. It doesn't matter. Just, you can handle it. You're on the ground. Just throw me under the bus if you have to. You have my full permission to do that. And then third, you know, represent wonderful way. You guys know what you're doing there. Just represent yourself, your team, your community, and have fun. That's going to be the most, I guess, the thing that I keep going back to is have fun, have fun, have fun. Make sure the kids have a great time, and everything will be great. James, can you add anything else to that?
I think that's perfect. I think we'll touch on a few things again during the course of the presentation. So you let me know and I'll carry on.
All right. Well, before I hand it off, you want to go to the next slide? Is that mine too, or can I be quiet?
No, we're going to the boring stuff on this slide, I'm afraid. Yeah.
Okay. Well, then it's all you.
All right. Thanks, Greg. Okay,
Yep.
hi everybody. So yeah, my name is James Matthews. I've been with ACIS for about 20 years and worked with Brigham for 8 or 9 now. And this is something that we love to do. We've just had so much fun partnering with America's team and providing these incredible trips for your athletes. And every year there's a ton of great feedback. The most important thing that I'll come back to during the course of the webinar is communication with us, with your tour manager. Let us know how it's going. If there's ever something that is not how you think it should be, don't keep quiet. Give us a call. There's always, as Brigham said, that could be a thunderstorm, it could be a strike, any number of things can happen. If something's just thrown off a little bit, chances are we'll have heard about it through our tour manager. But we want to make sure that this is another successful year and that things go from strength to strength. And part of our ability to do that rests with the communication that we get from not just our tour manager and our other staff on the ground, but also from you. So that's probably one of the most important things that I'll say all afternoon. So just wanted to start off with that. So some of the nitty gritty, hopefully all of this is already redundant in that you've already either done this or know that you don't have any issues. But every year there's 1 or 2 kids who have not replied to the emails that we send them saying, have you got a valid passport? It's a really silly thing, but it can turn into a bit of a nightmare for that individual. I'm afraid sometimes people do turn up to the check-in desk and are denied boarding because they do not have either a valid passport or a passport that is valid for 3 months after their return from the trip. It's not always completely enforced, but they have the right to enforce that. The same goes for any non-US citizen. Do they have a visa if they need it? So if you've any doubts, please just check, and in fact just check anyway with all of your athletes. As I say, we ask for passport information about 3 or 4 times over the course of the pre-departure period from the moment that people sign up. We get about a 70% response rate, and that's even after we've called, left messages. We still don't get about 30% of them, which means that we can't check, which means that if they haven't checked, they can still turn up at the airport with an out-of-date passport. So please, 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 that's really worth doing because it's such a silly way for them to miss the first couple of days of a trip. Money. Pretty much the single best way, and really the only way that I would recommend to bring money is with a debit card or any kind of bank card that has a PIN number attached to it. Again, if some of the athletes maybe don't have a card that has a PIN number with it, they're going to struggle with really any other option. Obviously, cash can be changed at places, but at inferior exchange rates. So it's much better if they can get spot rate exchange rates by using a bank machine and an ATM card with a PIN. The machines are everywhere. Pretty much any bank in the US will work on any European network, and it's by far the safest way to do it. If you even sniff a traveler's check, tell that person to return it. They are basically redundant these days, or extinct, I should say. So it's really cash or ATM cards. A lot of people will ask about cell phone coverage. It's impossible for us to give a one-fits-all solution. Just recommend they talk to their cell phone provider. Wi-Fi will be a huge topic on the trip, I'm sure. Whenever you are in a hotel in Europe, even the basically, the hotels in Europe break down into three types of hotel with regard to Wi-Fi. There's your, your basic hotel that doesn't even offer it, which are few and far between, and I don't think any of the hotels that you're going to are in that situation. There are the business hotels where they charge an exorbitant amount. As a rule, those are the sort of 4-star deluxe, which, alas, you're also not going to be staying in. And then there's the sort of everything in the middle, which is the sort of 3 and basic 4-star hotels that you are staying in that have often free Wi-Fi. However, they don't have the bandwidth for 30 people to be streaming Skype calls all at the same time. They just won't work. So I highly recommend that you suggest to your group that they just try to stick to email. Posting things to Facebook's fine, but if everyone's streaming videos or chats, it's going to crash most of the systems pretty quickly. And often that takes a group sort of till day 4 or 5 until they realize that, so you can just save everyone a bit of a headache. Seat assignments, the flights department here requests everyone in blocks together, but pretty much any group contract these days doesn't allow for any specific assignments unless there is a medical reason. So if you do have, for whatever reason, someone needs an aisle, whatever it might be, then let us know. Otherwise, at check-in, you will be able to try and get to sit next to the person you want to sit next to. So if people are checking in together and they're traveling with people they know, with friends, then that's the best way to do it, to check in together and ask the agent at the time. Definitely save yourself some stress if you're meeting your group at the airport. Just go for the 3 hours. It's hopefully unnecessary, but it's so much better than having a stressful rush for the plane by getting there any later. So again, just if anyone does have any questions, please feel free just to pop it into the chat panel at the bottom of your control panel. And I'll see that, and I'll come to it whenever sort of we get to that topic. So don't hesitate, and we shall move on. So those of you who are leaving in the next 3 weeks should have received a mailing from ACIS containing these items. If you haven't, and you're leaving in the next 3 weeks, it probably means that we are missing a signed application or a signed group leader form. We have to have a signature from everyone for liability insurance reasons before we can release the final details. So if you haven't, ask Tom or Brigham, and we'll figure out what the issue is. But otherwise, you should be getting or have received this sort of list of bullet points. So the tickets these days are a thing of the past. I'm sure you all know that. Everything is e-ticket these days. So you really don't even need it. Really, all you need is a passport. But it's useful to bring the e-ticket list that we send you. It's the last of these bullet points. I'm going backwards. The only reason is that just occasionally gate agents might not be able to pull up a name. They've misspelt it or something. So if you've got the e-ticket numbers with you, then that can just save a few minutes, but really it's not absolutely necessary. So if you've left home without it, don't turn the car around, type thing. The second bullet point, the little business card that you get with the ACIS emergency numbers, that one is really important. Stick it in your purse, your wallet, and use it if need be. That's what I was talking about earlier. We really want you to be in touch with us. If there's anything that goes amiss before you, well, let's say while you are not with your tour manager, then use the 24/7 emergency number. We call it emergency, but really it's not just, well, it's not at all just for emergencies. If you've, your flight is delayed and you've got a connecting flight in Europe, call us. Absolutely, definitely call us. For two main reasons. One is the simple thing that we'd like to be able to tell the tour manager and rearrange bus transfers and what have you. But more importantly, if you're going to miss a connection, then we absolutely want to know so that we can try to work with the airlines, or in the case of there being no other option, rebooking your ongoing flight, your connecting flight. When you call the emergency number, the 24/7 toll-free number, you will get an answer service. The reason we do that is so that because they have multiple lines with multiple people staffing it 24/7. So they are not ACIS, they're not America's team. You should use the words ACIS. They have been informed about America's team, but because they are more used to the calls coming through as ACIS, that's what will make more sense to them immediately. So explain that you're with ACIS and tell them what the issue is, and be ready to give them a contact number to call you back on. If it's a real emergency and you need to speak to someone immediately, maybe it's a medical emergency, then ask to be patched through to the ACIS duty officer, which will be someone here in the States, one of my colleagues. If it's not an emergency of that magnitude, then the answer service will be in touch with our duty officer, and they will call you back. Our duty officer will call you back on the number you provide within hopefully a few minutes. If it's office hours, of course, you can get straight through to us. You will get straight through to us, and you'll talk to any number of my colleagues, and we'll sort out whatever the issue is. I see a couple of questions here. Let me just go back a sec. Leah, here we go. You mentioned ATM cards or cash. What about credit cards? Yeah, credit cards are absolutely fine too. A lot of people don't have the PIN necessarily to get cash out with credit cards, but if you're paying for goods, services, then credit cards work perfectly well in Europe. I mean, I travel with my American Express and my Visa card, and both work pretty much everywhere in Europe, just the same as they do here. So absolutely. Let's see. Some credit cards have a fee for international purchases. Call before you use. Yes, exactly. So it's worth just being aware. Usually it's fairly minimal. I tend to get charged in the region of $2 or $3 for most transaction that I do on my credit cards, but others may have different rates. Okay, so moving forward, the other things in the mailing that you'll receive, tipping envelopes, self-explanatory there, and we'll come back to that at the end. The red card, this is another sort of very dramatic way for us to, just make sure that we want things to be right. I'm sure you won't have to use it, but if there is a major issue with a hotel or your tour manager, if it's a hotel, then give the red card to the tour manager, and that just says to them, hey, listen, this is something serious. The alarm bells start ringing all through the office, and we all go to action stations, and we figure it out, whatever we need to get done. If it's the tour manager, which is extremely unlikely, it's never happened yet on an America's Team tour, I hope it won't, but should there be an issue with your tour manager and they're just not doing the job as you imagined, then call the toll-free US emergency number and speak to someone here. Either way, we do want to sort it out, so don't sit on something. You'll also get your overall itinerary, which has your flights, your hotels, and your daily sort of day-by-day itinerary as part of that packet. The last thing there, I think it's self-explanatory, but if you've got athletes from your group that are actually flying from somewhere else, we will have sent their e-ticket information directly to them and not to you, so you're not missing it. They will have it. Okay. So there's a question here about the chip and pin technology. It's been very strange. It's sort of the wrong way around. Whereas usually, I don't know, a Hollywood film comes out and we get it in Europe about a year later. with chip and pin technology, the Euros are ahead of the US, and for years now, pretty much every transaction you make in Europe with a European bank card, you use a PIN number, so you don't have to sign anything. If your credit card does not have a chip, it does not matter. I just recently, I think my US Visa card does not have a chip. My American Express does have a chip. In both cases, I don't actually use my PIN number for either one of my credit cards. I only use that with my bank card. It just means that they have to print out the receipt and you have to sign it, just as you do in the States. The only little difference is that if you do want to add a tip, you need to do that before you give them the card. You need to tell them so that they can give you that option. But you don't have to have the chip in order to have your credit card work. It's really just a security and speed thing. Okay. Let's see. All right. So I think I've covered this fairly extensively already. This is the emergency number, the network. I've talked about the duty officer. As I said, make sure you mention it's an ACIS trip, have a contact number, and also the trip code is always useful. And by code, I mean that sort of three-part code. It usually starts with your departure date, such as if it's to July 25th, it'd be 725. Then it would be backslash the three-character code. So a lot of you are going to Italy on the 8EX. If you're going to Spain, I think it's the 8FN. Dominican is 80U, and so on and so forth. And then the last number is just your bus number, which is actually quite useful because there are some multiple buses on some trips. So if you have that information, that's all you need. And then our duty officer will call you back. Obviously, when you're with the tour manager, they are your #1 resource, and they will be an invaluable resource. They'll have more answers than you can imagine. So go to them first, but this number is always available to you as well. Let's see, did I just get another question? No, okay. Okay, Brigham, anything to add at this point?
I would just hit on, at the bottom of the page, golden rule #2. Again, even if you think it's trivial and even if you don't think we can fix it, please let us know, because if we don't know about it, then we can't fix it until it's too late. So no matter what, tell us if anything happens or if anything doesn't seem right, because ACIS will do everything and anything to make it right. And that's just a tip of the cap to you and your team, James, is you guys will move heaven and earth if you have to make it right. So just, I would hit on golden rule #2 again.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think you've covered it. But that's it. It's absolutely just let us know. We always want to know. Let's see. Next up, packing. Do you want to deliver Brigham's take on it, Brigham?
Sure. Yeah, pack light, pack light, pack light. We don't have portering service on these trips, so everybody's going to be hauling around their own luggage. So unless you enjoy lugging around hundreds of pounds of stuff, I wouldn't bring it. You know, let's see. A good or a common question is about equipment. And what the airlines will do is they allow you to check one bag and have one carry-on. But then if you check a second bag, the airline is going to charge you an extra baggage fee. And the solution to this is have all the kids combine their gear into 1 or 2 big equipment bags, check it, and you're going to pay an extra fee, but you get to divide that fee among all the players instead of every kid getting hit with that same extra bag fee. So that's a big one there. You know, as far as like gear that coaches need to bring. Just a simple medical kit with tape, bandages, gauze, Band-Aids, just your basic medical kit, and then balls. And what most coaches do is at the end of their tour, they leave the balls for the team that they just got done playing, and the teams are so appreciative of that because getting baseballs is harder over in Europe than it is here. So feel free to, you don't have to leave your balls with them, but a lot of coaches do. But don't feel that you have to. Yeah, Bill, let's see. I see Bill Giblin's questions about basketballs. James, I would assume that the Europeans would have basketballs or basketball teams.
Yes, you do not need to bring basketballs.
Okay. Oh, perfect.
I mean, obviously, if you want to go early and you think there's a chance that the other team may not be there, then okay, maybe bring a couple, but you certainly don't need them for the games. No.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And actually, I think Roger had a question. Can we have one carry-on and one backpack to put under the seat? In most cases, yes, you can. However, it depends on your connecting flight, because some of the smaller planes on the intra-European legs may not allow that. So I can't give a one-fits-all answer. The simple thing to do is to check the website of the airlines that you're traveling on, and they all have very clear baggage policies. But as a rule, yes, you can get away with a carry-on and what they call a personal item. But yeah, please check online. Okay. Right. So lost luggage, again, it's pretty straightforward, but again, it can save you a ton of time and heartache if there is some luggage that is lost. Do not exit the baggage hall without filling in the form. You have to find the lost luggage office, and you'll have to fill in a form saying, it was this kind of suitcase, it was this color, it's got these markings on it, etc., etc. Without that, and without the claim number that they then give you, it is basically sayonara, forget it. You're never going to be able to trace the thing, and it will be a lot of wasted time. So that's key. The other thing is, if you are doing that, I'm afraid it can take a long time, especially if everyone's baggage has been lost on a flight. That's rare these days, but it does happen. Send a couple of sort of front runners out to the tour manager to just let them know what you're up to, and they don't sort of worry that you've missed the flight or something. And then it's always a good idea just to have a change of underwear, maybe some simple toiletries, and certainly I wouldn't pack any valuable electronics or anything like that in your checked baggage. I think that's it on luggage. So arrival. So once you do exit the baggage hall, your tour manager will be waiting for you in the arrivals hall. So you'll have got your baggage, you'll have gone through customs, and you'll come out into arrivals hall. The TMs actually can't go into the baggage hall or customs, so don't be looking for them there. And it's quite useful to well, they will be looking out for you, but they will almost certainly have a blue and white clipboard or sign of some sort that says ACIS. So look out for that. They'll be looking out for you. And again, if you don't find your tour manager within the first few minutes of coming out, yeah, stick around that area and give us a call. As I say, more than likely they were just in the bathroom or something temporary, but give us a call immediately and we'll be in touch with them and get them to meet you at the right place. But they should be right there waiting for you. And if possible, try and make sure that everyone's ready to go, especially like having used restrooms. Use that time when you're waiting for luggage, because it's so frustrating for people when they just want to get out into Spain or Italy or wherever it is, and they've got to wait for 15 people to go to the restroom or change money. Money you can do once you're in town, so don't worry about that. And then, it's that tough arrival day. We always say the same thing. It's not necessarily the easiest thing, but try and keep everyone up and about, especially given that you are on a sports tour. It's going to pay dividends if you stay up until a reasonable time on arrival day and then sleep soundly and wake up refreshed. Okay, I think we have another question. What are dress requirements for travelers in Italy? The website talks about long trousers, pants, requirements for some venues. What are the details here, and has this been communicated with the players? Very good question. The only places where there are really any dress requirements is the Vatican. So if you go into the Vatican or any other cathedral anywhere in Europe, you will almost certainly be asked to cover shoulders. Shorts are usually fine, but not short. Well, shorts down to knee length are absolutely fine. Anything sort of mid thigh length, you may get turned away. But the shoulders is the big thing. So if girls are wearing tank tops, that's not going to be appropriate for going into cathedrals. You don't have to wear a long-sleeved top. You can use a shawl or just something to cover your shoulders, and that's good enough.
Well, and again, what I would interject here, James, is the tour managers do a great job of letting you know the day before, saying, okay, we're going to go to the Vatican, so remember, tomorrow you need to wear appropriate clothes. So the tour managers do a great job of giving you a heads up.
Right. And the other part of the question was, has it been communicated to the players? No, not specifically. It's one of probably 50 things that are in various areas in the materials that we send on the website. But no, we don't. I mean, it's hard enough, as I mentioned, trying to get everyone to tell us about their passport. So the chances of our getting that message through are pretty low. So as Brigham says, that is communicated with the tour manager on the spot. But there's always a way to figure it out. You can always just take an extra T-shirt and wrap it around your shoulders. It's never a problem. The other question that came through is, are there any evenings that require the kids to dress up? Not really. That's something that some groups decide to do for one of the dinners. You will be eating dinners in nice restaurants. So if you decided that you wanted to have a dinner where everyone gets dressed up, I would say that's a great thing to mention to your tour manager on arrival and ask them which evening they think would be most suitable. And I think that would be really nice. But there's nothing that you have to get dressed up for. Obviously, whether you're in a restaurant or a hotel, we don't want kids to be there in ripped jeans or anything inappropriate, but just common sense, nothing out of the ordinary. Brigham, Julie Brooks has a question about, do we have travel shirts or anything uniform for the airports?
Yes, we do. Part of the apparel that we will send out is every player will have an America's Team T-shirt and America's Team hoodie. And then along with that, coaches, you guys get a T-shirt and then a coaching polo. So you can wear that on the airport or in the airplane. And we give the hoodies because sometimes the airplanes are cold and the kids like that hoodie for that reason. So yeah, we have apparel coming to you.
Great. So moving on to the arrival briefing. So this is on the arrival day. You'll be a little bit zombified, but it's a very useful meeting to have. Your tour manager will hopefully buy you a restorative beverage to get your attention, and then you can have a really useful meeting with them about the whole next 9 days. And the key elements, definitely any medical, dietary issues, go through that so that they're fully aware of it. Birthdays, is Samantha's uncle coming to pick her up on day 7 and take her off for a dinner somewhere because he's on holiday in Italy, anything like that. Go through the itinerary. If there's anything that your group really wants to do for their free time, let your tour manager know so that they can try and build in time to do that and help with directions and what have you. And then talk about discipline. If you've got any specific rules that you've got in place for your group, the tour manager is there to support you, not to enforce discipline, but to support you in doing that. And then after you've met with, the coaches, all of the coaches on the bus have, excuse me, let me just get rid of that. Sorry about that. After you've had the meeting with just you, the coaches and the tour manager, the rest of the group will come in. Usually this is sort of before dinner on day 2, on arrival day, and the tour manager will go over any of the rules. They'll talk about some of the local customs, money, safety, if there's pickpockets in certain areas they need to worry about, take any questions, and just set the tone for the whole trip. So it's a useful meeting. You might want to just think about things that you think your tour manager should know and be sure to bring them up at that meeting. Okay, the games. This is why you're going. So the venues. Most of the venues are, of course, as you'd expect, outside of city centres. So the main thing that impacts is if you have more than one team on the bus. Just be aware that you might get occasional days where the venues are not the same for both teams. So it may be that you get dropped or you have to drop the other team and then sort of carry on to your venue. And obviously the tour manager themselves can't be in 2 places at the same time. However, we do have other staff on the ground, so there'll always be someone at the venue waiting for you and ready to help facilitate getting started, getting into the changing rooms, agreeing the rules and what have you. All of the venues do have changing rooms and showers. Feel free to grab something from the hotel. I didn't say that, but in practice, it's never a problem. And obviously, bottled water is provided during the game and in the intermission between games if you're playing double headers. It's always a good idea to talk about the rules with your opposition coach. Just let's make sure that whichever sport you're playing, you are agreed on substitutions. It's probably going to be a good idea just to understand the umpiring or refereeing situation. Pretty much always there's going to be at least 2, but it will vary. Sometimes there'll be more. The other key element is the idea of mixing up teams in the second of the double headers. If you're playing one of the sports that has the double header matches, then that has been one of the huge highlights for a lot of the teams, is playing a really competitive game first up and then having this incredible cultural experience where you get to sort of share your love of the game, and suddenly you've got a local Italian playing on your left at second base, or setting the ball up for you to spike, or whatever it might be. So have a think about how you want to do that, how you want to use your various players, and how to mix them up. I would just think about personalities and try and have a mix on each team to give them the best shot at making it a really interactive piece of things. If you've got all of the Shire players on one team mixed up with the Italians, for example, that won't work as well as if you've got some of the more gregarious ones mixed in as well. So gifts, this is another key element, because it's so embarrassing if the host team comes with a gift and you've got nothing to give them. So it doesn't have to be big, a pin, a badge, just something, and the more it can be representative of the the state or the town that you're coming from, the better. They really love, they're excited that there's teams coming all the way from America to play. So if you've got something to swap with or just to give to the coach, captain, and ideally each of the players on the teams that you're going to play, that would be very nice. They won't always have something for you, but you're better off to be prepared, because it's terribly embarrassing if they do and you don't. So I see.
And James,
Yep, go ahead.
I'll add on this too. The best thing you can bring, and you hit on it a little bit, James, is just anything that has your high school or team logo on it, whether it's a hat, an old T-shirt, just anything that says California softball or New York basketball or Texas baseball. If anything that says where you're from and the sport you're playing, that is like gold to them, and they'll love it.
Great. There was a question came through, is it one tour manager per team or per bus? It is per bus. So the tour manager is going to be your friend and your sort of resource for everything. But as I say, that's the one time where they may, not always, but they may get their time a little bit split between games if there are two teams on the bus and there's different venues. So they will divide their time sort of sensibly and equally, but as I say, there will be assistance at the game venue, so you'll never be completely on your own. But yes, one tour manager per bus. There's a question here about a concern with providing shirts as a gift. How do we know what size to get? Do you want to take that, Brig?
Roger, on your question about the shirts, just have the kids bring their shirts and the same shirt that you wear. You may not be able to fit it up perfectly, but they'll appreciate it the same. So that'll work itself out. So don't think you have to go and buy shirts specifically for a person you've never met. Just take over what you have, and it'll work itself out naturally.
Okay, let's see. Rooming. So we have a mixture of hotels in cities, in logistically strategic points near the games, all over the place in the various countries you're going to. Some are larger resort-style hotels, some in the cities are smaller, and the type of room varies quite a lot. But as a rule, it's going to be a lot of triples or twin rooms, and twin rooms means 2 single beds. Those of you going on the ferry between Greece and Italy, you should be prepared to put people into quadruple rooms. That's a requirement for the ferry, so just be aware of that. If anyone has basically put in a specific request for rooming, then we know about it and we've booked accordingly. If they haven't, then we haven't. Now, it sounds silly, but quite often a parent or maybe two sisters or whatever it might be just assume that we know that they are expecting to room together. But all we do is book on a basis of age and gender and specific requests. We ask them in the registration form to tell us if they have any requests, but quite often they sort of just miss that bit, and we are none the wiser. So unless they've told us, we will room minors with other minors of the same gender. The same goes for adults. So you could get a parent who's traveling with a son or a daughter rooming with not their son or daughter, but another adult of the same gender. If you think that there's someone who's expecting that, you might want to just check with them that they've told us. And you can also check with Brigham or with Tom if you're working with Tom, to be absolutely sure. So there's always a couple that have not quite figured that out, and are expecting something that has not been booked. So if you've got any suspicions as to people you think are not just rooming with other players, then double check and with us and make sure we've got it. So then for everyone, all the students, all the players who are rooming, just together, have in mind some breakdowns. You'll get either twin or triples for the most part. So just have a sense of who might room with who, and then when your tour manager gives you the final breakdown of rooms that they get from the hotel that morning, you'll be able to slot the names into the rooms very quickly. Okay, another couple of questions. Actually, just one. How do we make sure we request rooming? Is there something online at ACIS? So no, it was actually on the registration form at the start. There's a section on rooming where we ask people to tell us what they would like. So if someone hasn't filled that in properly or just didn't realize, then we will not know about any specific requests. So again, just check if you've got any worries about that. Check with Tom. Brigham, everyone knows Tom, right? Everyone's working with Tom. Is that right?
If they don't, they can go through me. Okay. Tom is my point man at ACIS that I'm in contact with 3 or 4 times a day.
Yeah, right.
So
yeah,
they can always contact me too.
Right. So I mean, there is a double room supplement. So if someone is expecting to be, let's say a parent is expecting to be in a twin room with a child, then they should have told us, they should have requested it, and they would have been invoiced and therefore should have paid for the double room supplement. Depending on the trip, it's usually about $250, something in that region. So if they arrive expecting that and they haven't paid and we haven't booked it, there still might be a chance that we can figure it out, but they would have to pay that fee on the spot because it's sort of an added cost over and above a triple room, which is what everything is based on. Okay, just a few other little notes. Most of the hotels have safes. It's always a classic. If you put the passports in there, don't forget to take them out. We always just expect everyone to have fun at the hotels. A lot of them have swimming pools. A lot of them have nice outside areas. But usually 10 o'clock is the sort of witching hour where we just ask that everyone keeps things down and be respectful of other guests. We don't like to lose hotels that work really well because they think that our groups aren't behaving. So I appreciate your help with that. That's really important to us. Yeah, just learn a few words of the local language. The drivers can be a big part of the trip. They can be really fun. And if you can say hi, ciao, buenos dias, whatever it is, they'll really appreciate it. And a happy driver is a blessing. You don't want a grumpy driver for fairly obvious reasons. So the other way to keep them happy is not to eat on the bus, and certainly not to make a ton of mess on the bus. In terms of restaurants, the dinners, as you can see, are 3 courses. There's tap water always included on the table, but any soft drinks or any drinks should be paid for individually. Again, dietary restrictions, obviously, that's something you've covered at the arrival briefing with your tour manager. This is something that hopefully won't come up, but now and again it does. We understand that family members may not want to come on the whole trip, but may have planned their own vacation at the same time, and they might plan to come and maybe see a game or maybe join them for dinner one night, which is fine. However, sometimes family members have booked an entire series of hotel nights that mirrors the rest of the group, and they expect to be able to get on the bus, they expect to be able to join guided tours, be at the games, be at the dinners. That is not okay. First and foremost, it's just a bit rude to everyone else who's paid for the group and paid for the trip and has everything included. But even more importantly than that, they are not insured. So we have a very strict policy, and we have to. We have really no choice on it. So we have instructed all of our tour managers that they can only do certain limited things if there are family members or friends of turning up on the trip and asking for their help. Really, the only thing that we allow them to give out is the time and address of upcoming games or dinners, in which case they would need to pay a €20 per person fee for the dinner, and it's subject to availability. The tour managers are told that they may not give out their cell phone number. They are not there to help with driving directions or to give them advice on free time or anything like that. They are there for you, for the people who've paid for the tour. Their time is precious. You'll understand this if you've been already, or you know by day 3 you'll already see how important the tour manager is as a resource to you and the athletes on the tour. Very importantly, if someone does come claiming to be a family member, obviously if you know them, you know them, but if you don't, both you and the tour manager should be sure to get photo identification. Just make sure that anyone who's sort of saying, hey, we're going to go off for dinner, is obviously who they say they're going to be. And if they really want to join the bus for one day, we do have a one-day bus pass that we can have them sign, which is approved by our insurers. It's the most that we can do. They cannot step foot on the bus without signing this, and they cannot step foot on the bus for more than that period. And there's no exceptions to that. So, you know, don't be afraid to be the bad guy. Again, involve us if you need to be, but we have to be strict on it. Tipping. Actually, let's see. I see another question. Here it is. For groups going to 2 countries, does the tour manager stay with you for the entire trip, or do you change tour managers in the next country? It's the same tour manager the whole time. Absolutely. So if you're doing Italy and Greece, the tour manager will be with you on the ferry going across and with you the whole time in Italy. In Greece, actually, it's the only country that by law requires a local guide to be present for certain elements of the trip. Basically, it's whenever you're doing sightseeing. In other countries, the tour manager will be the person with you 24/7, and then you'll join with a local guide a couple of times, maybe just for like 2 or 3 hours. In Greece, you may find that you have a local guide with you for most of the day, and that's just local law. But you don't need to tip them. We've got them, the guides, we have that covered. But we do ask, and it's very important, that you tip the tour managers. And the reason it's so important is that we have a really phenomenal all-star cast of tour managers who have been assigned to all of the trips this summer. They make such a huge difference to the overall experience, and it's important that you know we get them coming back. And obviously they love doing this. They're passionate about it, but it is also their livelihood. So we really appreciate your making sure that as long as they've done a good job, obviously a tip is a tip, but that you collect this $6 per person per day, including coaches, and multiply that by the 8 days and the number of people in your group, and present that to the tour manager at the end of the trip. For the driver, that changes depending on the trip. Some trips you'll have a driver with the same driver with you the whole time. Other trips, obviously Italy and Greece, you'll have different drivers. Work with your tour manager on that and see what they say. If you collect the money beforehand, you can't go wrong. Let's say you collect $4 per person per day times 8 days times the number of people in your group. You'll have, say, whatever it is, $800. If when you get there, the tour manager says, well, actually, we only have the driver for 4 days, then hey, you've got an ice cream fund, or you've got a taxi fund, or something. It's never a bad thing to get it in advance.
And on top of that, James, we tell the kids to plan on $50 per day in spending money. This tipping is included in that $50 per day that we tell them to bring. So collecting it up front is perfectly fine.
So sometimes people, it does end up, especially if you've got a large group, it can end up quite a lot of money. So some people are just more comfortable, day 2 or 3, they can already see that the tour manager's going to be brilliant. They feel comfortable and they just want to get rid of it. Absolutely up to you. If you decide to do that, then that's at your discretion. I'd prefer it if you didn't ask them to hold on to the driver tip. That's a little unfair to them. But in terms of the tour manager tip, if you feel like doing that so you don't have to carry it around, feel free. And that's really it from our point of view. Since there's so many different trips, I haven't got into sort of in-country detail, and I think that's probably not for the webinar. But if any of you have questions about your specific trips, then again, Tom or Brigham have those answers. But are there any other questions? Brigham, do you want to add anything? And then I'll unmute everyone for just the last 5 minutes and see if anyone has any further questions.
No, I think you covered everything. And again, I would just go back to, if anything goes wrong or just seems a little bit off, if you just have a funny feeling about it, let the tour manager know, let us know. And again, you guys, ACIS, will do everything and anything to make it right. And that's, I appreciate that as being the organizer for America's team, that I know once they get on the plane and take off, I don't have another worry in the world because you guys will take care of everything.
Absolutely. One more question has come through, and I'm going to just unmute everyone just in case anyone feels like chiming in. But the last question was, are there laundry facilities available to wash uniforms at hotels? And the answer is no, not really. It takes too long. You're not anywhere long enough. I would try and avoid having to do laundry. It's a miserable way to spend time in a foreign country, bottom line. How many uniforms do they have, Brig?
3, so they shouldn't have to wash any.
And when will they get the uniforms?
30 days prior to departure.
Right. Perfect. So, listen, thank you so much for leading these teams. I hope you have an incredible time. It's so much fun. We really appreciate your feedback at the end of it as well, with the sending us an email with any comments you might have. We tweak things every year, and thanks for giving this great opportunity to all your athletes. So, brilliant stuff. Have a great time. Brigham, anything? Last thoughts?
Nope, just have fun, and if anything needs changing, just talk to your tour manager, and they'll do it.
One last question here. Do the uniforms come to the coach or the individual players' home addresses?
They go to the coaches, and then the coaches will distribute to the kids.
There we go. Wonderful. All right. Any other comments or questions from anyone? Game balls, there's a question. Are game balls provided or do we bring them? They are provided there, but for if you are thinking baseball or softball, it's a good idea to bring a few extra so that if you are, you turn up before the other team, you're not without them. But yes, they're provided. Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, everyone. Again, really appreciate your doing this, and yeah, wonderful tour.
Thanks, everybody. And again, if you need anything, give me a shout.
Great.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.